Good afternoon and welcome to the 21st lecture from IF NCTS. All along we had conducted lectures on technical topics, barring a few on topics such as Industry 4.0 and technological leadership. Now when the industry is rising again to face the challenges of increasing quality output, due care must be taken. This, coupled with very volatile situation on raw material front, need that technical team should have working knowledge of financials and basic understanding of market condition. We have with us today Mr. V. Shriniwas Reddy to enlighten more on the subject. Mr. Reddy is currently working as Executive Director, Synergy Green Industries Limited, Kolhapur. With MTech in Manufacturing from National Institute of Foundry and Forge Technology, Ranchi, and Executive Management Program from IIM Bangalore. Mr. Reddy possesses a rich experience of more than 25 years. Companies such as UP Steels, L&T Roorkela and Coimbatore, and Synergy Green Industries. During this period, he has worked for varied product segments such as wind and hydro turbines, thermal plants, railways, pumps, and mining. He has handled responsibilities in product development, operations management, and shouldered responsibility of greenfield foundry design, execution, and managing the complete business functions. Under his leadership, L&T Foundry has received IIF Green Foundry of the Year award. I now request Mr. Reddy to address us on today's subject. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome you all for a brief session on financials for the foundry engineers. This concept, just I would like to share because of the kind of the challenges the foundry industry is facing. These are the common things we heard in the industry, right? Demand, plant utilization, we are struggling with a competitive price in the market, higher input costs, and the availability of raw material is also a big challenge. And then getting the quality casting is a day-to-day headache, and shortage of skilled manpower. And most important thing nowadays, we are also facing challenges related to work environment management and compliance to statutory requirement. These are the various challenges we are facing on our day-to-day life in the foundry industry. So just I thought to give a very aerial view on how to handle these kind of challenges in a systematic way. It's a very brief session, but still I would like to throw some light. This is like an introductory kind of thing. So if you deep dive into each of the topics which I'm going to cover, so it may help you further to explore. Again, just a small disclosure. So here, whatever I'm going to share, I don't think I'll be sharing anything than what you already know. But again, just I'm trying to put in a right perspective, that's all. So I'm not going to tell anything new that which you don't know. So my belief is all these challenges can be overcome by the way of converting foundry art into science. So this is the key for our success, So my whole this session will be in this direction. So first of all, let us take how the foundries operate. There are two kind of foundries. One is typically operating in the silos. There is a marketing department, there is operations, including production and quality, then again the finance. All these three functions are working in individual silos, working with the individual responsibilities. For example, marketing is putting a lot of effort in getting the orders, but really they don't know what kind of orders the operations want. If you look at the operations, they're putting a lot of effort for themselves to produce good quality casting and all, really without understanding what the market expectation is. And the third thing, the finance is looking at it as an isolated function wherein just to arrange finances for managing the operations. So with these kind of environment, I strongly believe there will be a lot of struggle in surviving in the industry. So what we are looking at is on the right hand side, that is these three functions should go hand in hand. Not only that, there must be cross-functional knowledge among this marketing, operations, and finance. This is going to greatly enhance the capability of the foundry and which can sustain any kind of challenges they come across in the foundry. The classical example of this is our cricket. Cricket is the most favorite sports in our country. If you look at 15, 20 years back, the way cricket was played, batsman used to play the batting, and that's all. He did not have any other responsibilities. And that was the same thing with the bowlers. So there was never much of a coordination between a batsman, bowler, and a fielding, actually. If you really look at the old kind of cricket, it is like a art, whether it is Vengsarkar or Tendulkar. If he has a great heart, then only the team can succeed. And sometimes these kind of big players were not played well, and the match used to be lost. Now, if you really look at the today's environment, India has got so many players, and they're all not like popular like Tendulkar or anyone else, including the recent Australia match. If you look at what is the main difference between the 20 years back, the way cricket was played, and today the things are being played. Nowadays, the cricket has become more of a science than an art. So the foundry industry also need to look in transforming our old style of art to science. So if you really look at many cricketers, they want to be all-rounders. Just they don't want to be a batsman. They want to be a fielder. They want to be a bowler. And not only that, this every match is being played with a lot of science, like going back and looking at historically what kind of mistakes they have done, what kind of strategy they should adopt against a team, what kind of pitch they are going to play. Means it's not that casually just walk into the field and start playing the game. The same way in our foundry industry, we cannot just go at 9 a.m. and start the problems comes and go and start playing the game. So with this kind of the approach, we are not going to progress in this industry any longer, actually. So there is a lot of learning has to be taken from this cricket field, and exactly if you replicate into our foundry industry, there will be amazing results. One of the recent the challenges which we come across, that is during last 7 months, the raw material prices have skyrocketed. If you really look at specifically the steel scrap, which has shot up by 42% from 28 to 40 rupees, and pig iron price also shot up by 36% from 32 to 43 rupees. It's quite a big challenge. Even I heard the case, some of the foundries are not interested to run the foundry because they can't afford to buy the raw material at such kind of high prices. And when they stop producing the castings, then there are other challenges like casual laborers not staying in the foundry and trying to look for some other jobs. Then it will hit you even more harder, actually. So it's very difficult to manage. Either you cannot say no to the customer, nor you cannot produce it. It's in a dilemma. At the same time, we cannot produce the castings by putting money from our pocket. So on the other side, if you look at, the customers are not willing to pay complete compensation. So this is going to be the truth. It is not only for the foundry industry. Any industry, if there is a pressure on the demand side, if it goes up, you can't pass on 100% of the problem to the customers, actually. Something needs to be observed. The way foundry industry is operating, we don't have that kind of cushion to pass on these kind of surge in the raw material prices to the customers. Then the only choice left to us is to suffer financially, actually. So to handle that kind of situation, how do you manage our operations? So before going further, just I would like to throw some light on what are the casting price elements and what kind of controls we have on these elements. Probably all of you may be familiar. This is the pie chart, where the money comes and how much money goes. If I pick up this full circle as the income from the sales, and this is where very indicative percentage of the spend happens in a typical foundry. It may vary from foundry to foundry, but just I have taken on a small example based on certain our experiences, actually. So almost 1/3 of our money is spent on the raw material. And then another 12% will be spending on consumables. Then the power is another 9%, the machining expenditure another 15%, the admin and logistics, that is the transporting and delivering to the customer. So 3 to 4% logistics, another 1 to 2% on admin, and manpower 10%. And balance is the 5-5-5. I am assuming that if you make a 15% kind of a depreciation, finance, and profit before tax, it's reasonably considered as a good foundry. I don't say it's a great foundry or performing bad. It's in between average. This is how the expenditures look like. Now let us break it down. What is the kind of controls we have on this pie chart? On the right hand side, you see all key highlighting the spend areas are listed down here, and For any expenditure, there are two kind of things. One is we can control the quantity or we can control the price. So if you look at the raw material, I don't think we can control the price and also the quantity. The reason behind, I'm assuming that our buyers are very efficient and they can buy at a competitive price from the market. So then if the CRC prices or steel prices are around 40 or 45, I don't think you can buy the raw material at 30. So somebody may buy 500 rupees less or 500 rupees more. It means you have very little control on the price. At the same time, if you look at the quantity, I have put little on the quantity. Means the raw material consumption is not decided by the foundry, it is decided by the customer. So based on his casting drawing, I don't have a choice. I need to produce perfectly according to that drawing. So I have very little control on the raw material. Still, I have put very little because casting weight is in our hand. If we make the weight inefficient, for the same drawing, there can be a different weight. So that's why I written a very little control on that. Of course, consumable is totally our choice. Customer is not telling how much consumable you should be using. So this is all innovation, how foundry process is being adopted. That is what makes the cost for the foundry. And the power also, customer is not telling how much power you should use for producing our casting. Means consumable and power, we have reasonably good control to improve. Again, if you go back on the other side, on the price front, I don't think we have any control on the consumables and absolutely no control on the power. Whatever the MSCB or anybody dictates the power tariffs, just we have to pay for it. That's all. We don't have any choice. Now coming to the machining, there is a little bit of control on either side, price and again, it's not a big this thing, And again, admin and logistics also, we have very little control because the diesel prices are dictated by the government and the transportation cost distance is already decided between the customer and the foundries. So we have very little control on the admin and logistics. So if you really look at this pie chart, we have three things in our hand. That is, one is the consumable, one is the power, and the manpower. These three quantities we can really influence. Again, the manpower prior cost, I did not say control because we don't want to pay underpay to our employees, right? So in case, then we need to play the game within the parameters which is strictly under our control. So now first part, when I go for any optimization or the improving the financials, the first thing comes to my mind is the plant utilization. This is the one biggest factor which can change the fate of the foundry. I have plotted a graph, a typical foundry production. Let us say the foundry is having tons of capacity, and a particular month of January he produces 650, and say 700, 750. So it's like that month on month. This is how the production is happening actually. And if you really look at the average production during the entire year is 750 metric ton. So this is where the game lies. For any foundry employee, if you look at his production figure, we're doing good because we are also touched 900 tons, and there are some months has gone down. That is 550 or 600 for whatever the reasons, whether due to the customer demand or due to plant shutdown or quality issues or the raw material availability, can be anything actually. But there is a catch in the screen actually. If you really see, it is something similar to our cricket scorecard. So we don't like to have maiden overs, because once you lost a particular over, some few runs, then you can't build up a total, and that's going to significantly impact our financials. Similar way, in our the foundry, these things are big opportunities, right? This gap, what you see here, or the dip, what you see here. So pushing the production by a little is quite easy. So this is where I listed down some of the parameters, how we can improve the utilization. So if I have to choose between the cost reduction and the plant utilization, my highest focus will be, first thing is nothing can beat plant utilization. See, because it can bring very good value addition to the organization actually. This should be the main focus. There are a lot of foundries, they look at no, it's too low cost, I don't want to book the orders, or they're focusing on many cost reduction areas. But cost reduction is the last thing actually. First you should look at the value addition. If you do cost reduction, how much you will do? 1%, 2%, that's all. But when you increase the production by 10%, you can improve your bottom line by 3 to 5%. So the plant utilization is the number one factor where it improves your sustainability. How can you improve the plant sustainability? Again, everyone knows, right? Build the order book by maintaining good quality, delivery, cost, and good responsiveness with the customer. Another important thing, what many founders does the mistake is selection of the right product mix, and establishing the long-term the business. Marketing has to understand the strength of the organization. It's not just their responsibilities to go to the market and get some orders. Always marketing department get carried away by I got 150 rupees kg order, 200 rupees per kg order. If it is a 20 kg, 10 kg, what do I do with that? If it is not going to help me in producing it, there has got no meaning. So it is not the price alone is the criteria. It is the value addition which is suits our foundry. Means we need to focus a lot on selecting the right product. So we can achieve a good utilization. So this is another important thing. Marketing needs to deep dive it. And the second thing is marketing should establish a good long-term businesses with strong customers. Otherwise, every month you keep on searching for the customers, then this production you cannot control. One day customer gave the order, another day he did not give, then you lose. Whatever this capacity are lost for a month or two, this can never be reverted back. So it's very important for us having a good, consistent order book to have a consistent plant utilization. Of course, having good, healthy order book and also good product mix in our hand, effective operations management is very important thing. Otherwise, we have orders, but we are not able to produce due to quality issues or breakdowns and all those kind of things. Again, we lose the plant utilization. And the last one is the increase the productivity with the productive improvement techniques will cushion the demand fluctuation. See, operations guys cannot expect the uniform demand from the market. There is going to be some fluctuation. Still, we need to manage between some inventory buildup and also having slightly higher capacities can help us. Like for example, this foundry is operating 1,000 tons. If you slightly stretch your capacity to 1,100 or 1,200, then you are more flexible. Then we can push this curve entire thing on the top. Then this 750 average, if it goes to 850, it's a 10% or 15% increase, your bottom line will go up 3 to 5%. That is the kind of impact what it has got. Means 50% of your raw material increase can be negotiated just by increasing your production by 10%. That's all. It's as simple as it actually. So it's very important for the production team to continuously look at opportunities for increasing the production capacity. Another thing what I strongly believe is in Indian foundries, still we are not done much of the even semi-automation. So we should focus a lot on small techniques, identify the bottlenecks and improve your productivity. So this will greatly help in improving your plant utilization. The second topic which I put emphasis is the rejection control. Again, we all of us know, but how big is this impactor? That's what I'm trying to highlight here actually. So maintaining good control over the variables. It's not about doing good or bad. It's about the variables, The foundry has got billions of variables. We have more than 300 raw materials, 300 people, 300 processes, 300 products. So when I multiply all these things, the number of possible outcomes translate into a few billions actually, So it's very important for the operational team to maintain good control over the variables. So this is how the outside this thing, the process control it looks like. So this process is variability is very minimal, but it is not on the target. So it is off the target. So that there is another process wherein the variations are very high, but if you look at the average value, it looks okay. But we either want the precise process, nor we want accurate process. We want both. That is accurate and precise process. So we should look at minimizing the variables or having good control on the variables will help you a lot in reducing your rejections. The second thing is always try to avoid human intervention and improve technological controls. If you have more and more human interventions, means you had it, you are going to have higher quality rejections. So it's very important for even how intelligent may be, how best your processes may be, you can't just control on the rejections. So it's very important for us to, wherever possible, to eliminate the human intervention with the help of technological controls. So that is where this chart shows. So if your foundry is running with totally controls, the instructions, the operators and the processes, so then it's extremely difficult to control the rejections. So always move towards the technological control. If you really look at the something like aviation industry, airlines, in spite of having such a skilled pilots, So still airline completely operates through technology. Once the flight takes off from the ground, the pilot goes for a sleep. Means that is the kind of technology what the aviation industry adopts. Because of that, the accident levels and the accuracy performance of the industry is excellent. The same thing in our foundry industry, we need to get away from the people control to the technology control. This will also solve your second problem, that is the skilled manpower, the requirement. So this is another focus area where I insist upon, and use simple problem solving tools. Just common sense is more than sufficient. You need not be a Albert Einstein, solve the majority of the foundry problems. Even if you handle your 90% of the problems with the common sense, that's all. You can greatly control your rejections actually, And the last thing, if I have to choose between a knowledge versus discipline in foundry industry, discipline is the most important factor which takes you to the success. So it's very important, whether it is right or wrong, you put aside. A discipline is a discipline. Don't allow anybody to deviate from the written down process. So even if it goes wrong, it will go for a limited period, then you can correct the process. But if you have a highly intelligent people, if they are not disciplined, you really don't know for what reasons the things are going wrong. So these are the few of the parameters where it can help you in controlling the rejection. A good rejection control can contribute 3 to 5% of your bottom line. Just to have put another sketch here, that is the yield, very commonly spoken in Foundry. We're all quite happy with 95%, 97, 94% kind of yield. The problem is there is something concept called throughput yield. So the total this process yield is not either of the best of these things, it gets multiplied. Say when you look at the process yield, it's a 95 into 97 into 94, it's just dropped down to 87%. It means the lesser number of variables you have, so you can achieve better efficiency. So it's very important for us to minimize the variables as much as possible. Some of the other parameters who I would like to throw some light on the cost improvement areas. The casting weight, this is another thing generally neglected in foundries. Say, for example, a particular casting has got a 200 kg, we may be producing at a 204 kg or 205 kg. It looks everything okay, but we spend the raw materials on the increased rate for which customer did not order actually, So there is always a possibility in foundries, anywhere between 3 to 4% weight of the casting, if you can control, you can save 1 rupee 50 paisa per kg kind of the cost to the organization. Say out of which 40 rupees go to the raw material, another 10 rupees goes for a power to convert that raw material into the casting actually, assuming that sand and other consumables remain same. So it's very important, always have a good control on your casting weights. Just list down what is the optimal weight for a particular casting and at what weights we are running our foundry. You maintain a certain efficiency, whether I am maintaining at 99% of the optimal level or 98%, wherever the castings which are having a big deviations, pull up those castings and try to control the weight. It can save you a lot actually, So this is another focus area I would like to emphasize. Then of course the consumable is like this is a golden opportunity, as many innovation you do it, as much thought process you do it, you can easily minimize the consumption consumables. If you really take example of in our foundry, we are able to reduce almost more than 10 to 15% of the consumables actually. Particularly major consumable in our foundry is the sand actually, a foundry like ours, jobbing foundry, the sand to metal is very high. So we have very good opportunities to reduce the sand. And of course, the filters and the paint. So if you really drill down and something, can I eliminate it? If I can't eliminate it, can I minimize it? So you please ask these questions on consumables. Say you pick by value every month, and after you are top 10, can I improve by 5%, 3% at all? If every month, if you drill down, I believe this consumable cost can be greatly reduced actually. So then the most important thing is the power consumption. It's a quite easy job. It doesn't really require any compromise on this thing. It's only simple awareness. That's all. By each and every employee in the organization can really be a game changer. Say we are spending around roughly 10 rupees per kg. I am assuming 1.2 units per kg of casting production. So if you can easily this thing, focus on certain key high consumption areas like melting or a compressor. And if you look at on any given day, say if you take two particular heats for the same casting, per first heat will take some X number of units, the second heat will take a different number of units. This means I am capable of producing at a lower number of units consumption and also higher units. This is where the opportunity lies. If you go back and analyze why a particular heat has consumed higher units and why it has consumed lower units, then you can derive do's and don'ts to minimize the power consumption. So I believe the power consumption, in fact, we have achieved these numbers. You can easily aim the 10% reduction in the power consumption. See, for melting, you don't require more than 500 units to theoretically, but we end up in spending more than 600 units in the furnace actually. So it's very important for us to focus on the power consumption and reduce it. And of course, finally, the manpower. We need to focus upon simple semi-automation or automation. Automation doesn't need that every time you need to go to a computer, robot, and all. Not at all. In Foundries, we do a lot of bull work. So the only way is just go and spend on the shop floor. What are the areas where I can minimize or eliminate unnecessary handling, lean manufacturing? If you all focus on this, of course, increase in productivity will also drop your the manpower cost. So it's very important for us to throw light on all these 4 parameters: casting, weight, consumables, power, and the manpower. I'd like to give another perspective. So far we discussed mainly onto the operational side, how financially this thing, we can control the Foundry. Financial sheet is like a scorecard. The scorecard is maintained by the scorer, right? The scorecard is built by the cricketer, right? So in a Foundry, it's a financial statement. We always believe that is meant for financials. Absolutely no, this is not truth. So actually, this financial sheet is built by operational guys. So we need to have some basic understanding of what improves the organization, what destroys the organization. So I suggest you people please go and sit with your financial team to understand what are the financials, how it works, and how you can contribute to improve the financials. For the same revenue, for the same expenditures, you can totally change the organizational performance. So I try to highlight a few of the points here. Maybe a few of you may be familiar, but just I would like to highlight in a quick, very short thing. Financial consists in 3 baskets. One is the income statement, then is the second is the balance sheet, and third is the cash flow. So just if I had to take a practical example, income statement is like your monthly salary. Okay, so this is the revenue is your salary, expenditure is expenditure, monthly expenditures, the profits is your savings. So this doesn't mean that how good you are, how capable of you are for handling the uncertainty. You only know that this is the income, this is the expenditure, these are the savings. So this is first part is like your monthly salary. Then the second thing is like your assets and liabilities. So for example, you have a house, you have a car, or you have got a mobile phone, or you have XYZ, anything. So ultimately, what kind of assets you have built? Whether you have built assets which are going to add value or which are going to simply depreciate. So in Foundry also, many times I'm talking when we started our career, always we used to focus on top line, bottom line. This is the only thing we heard about it, right? So we focus on increasing the sales and controlling the expenditures and maintaining the profits. But if I have to spell out, this is not the only thing which you need to, operational guy need to look into actually. It's very important to what are the parameters really affecting our balance sheet actually. Particularly these assets, both current and non-current assets. I'm even put more emphasis onto the current assets. If you carry higher inventory, whether raw material inventory, work in progress, or even higher receivables from the customer, it will greatly damage your financials actually. So if you don't have a proper cash flow, then you end up in paying higher interest to the bank, or if you don't pay your suppliers in time, then you may end up in paying higher raw material prices. So it's not about just what revenue you achieved or what profits you achieved. How you achieved is also important. So if I have to compare this with some small example, it is not about how many runs he has scored or how many wickets he has scored. It's also equally important in how many overs or what run rate he has achieved. So similar way in a Foundry, it's not about how much production you have done and how much profits you have made. How you have made is also equally important. As I mentioned in the beginning, those days are gone. Classically staying with only batting, bowling, and all, our production and sales, it's not going to help us. We all of us need to understand all 3 pillars of the organization. One is the operations, then the second is the market situation, third is the financial the situation. So if you have a good control on a raw material inventory and the WAP inventory, you can greatly enhance your return on capital employed. So return on capital employed is the most powerful tool. If you are able to manage your business with a much smaller capital, then your business is even more powerful. And second thing is, give high priority to managing your receivables. Don't allow this to pile up. Actually, this is another important thing. And if I have a choice between a slightly lesser price with a lesser payment days, I prefer to choose with a lesser payment days compared to a 1 or 2 rupees getting extra, because I need to deploy so much of extra capital to manage the business actually. So return on capital employed is the most important thing in our business apart from the profits. And one more thing is, you please walk into our foundries. You will be having huge amount of assets lying here and there. Just ask one question: whether this particular asset is adding value. Do I need this asset for next 3 months or 6 months? If the answer is no, just throw it out. Whatever the value you get, that account just you deposit in our bank. So that will help you in managing your capital. So in foundries, we always have a habit of keeping everything in our foundries. So with this, you waste your capital, you waste your space, and it will take away your productivity. So it's very important for you to only to manage the assets which you really need, which you don't want. Continually have a process to dispose of the assets which you really don't require actually. Another important thing, particularly for the operations guy, always they think, if I invest this, I will do the increase the production or improve the quality and all. By the time we make an investment, they come and realize it did not deliver the desired results. So it's very important for us, whenever you want to spend money, think 10 times. Do I need really to spend this money? And is it going to deliver the targeted results? So once you are doubly sure, then only you spend the money. So you people need to be, because what happens when a particular management, you take up for the decisions, investments, all those things, management will always think, increase the production or improve the quality and all. Just give it. By the time we take the money and invest it, then that will become another waste asset. See, we should be very cautious before making any capex or investment decisions that we're making the right investment. So ultimately, what I keep on emphasizing is higher ROCE will be that is a return on capital employed, will be a game changer for the organization. So I suggest it's a very small session. So I'll just try to present the whole financials in one single slide. You please go back to your financial team, understand in deep about the slide which I have shown. So always the organization should focus upon the growth. Growth is the most important thing. Say for a particular organization, you're enjoying the profits, but if the growth is not there, you can't sustain because the overheads keep growing. So it's very important for the organization, even if you're not making profit, if you are on a continual growth, today or tomorrow you will come in profits. Absolutely, there is no problem. But if the growth is not happening, your stagnation, it will be a highly challenging thing actually. The second thing is, please have a good control on debt to equity ratio. So any investments, any capital employment on the working capital or the long-term assets, be cautious. Don't spend the money unless it is really required. If you have excess money, please park it in the bank. Don't put it in the shop floor. So it's very important, always hold the money in your hand. And of course, I discussed in detail about the ROCE. And the last thing is the EBITDA margins. When you have these three things in control, EBITDA will automatically fall in line. EBITDA is nothing but earnings before interest, depreciation, and tax. This is nothing but the 15% which we spoke in the circle. Now, just I have summarized so far whatever I discussed, how that is going to impact our financials. So the first topic we spoke about is the utilization. Say, for example, if you are able to push your production from 750 tons by 12%, say maybe 100 tons or something like that, generally the 25% of our cost, that is the manpower, depreciation, finance cost, and the PBT, all put together, it adds up the 25% of our spend goes into the overheads. So when you increase your production by 12%, these things are not going to go up. It means you are going to save straight away 12% of this 25%. It's nothing but 3% almost, or 3 rupees per kg. So if you are able to reduce the rejection, the majority of the foundries operate roughly around 8 to 10% of kind of rejection. So with a good process control, if you are able to cut down your rejection by 5%, so it can today on a 10% rejection level, we must be spending somewhere closer to 5 rupees per kg in our this pie goes to produce the rejected castings. So we can easily, I don't say we'll be able to produce zero rejection and all. Yes, aim should be there, but even if I go with a practical approach, a 50% cut down in rejection can help you in reducing your cost by almost 2.5 rupees per kg. And of course, the weight per kg reduction, even if you go and attempt for a 3% reduction, it's a very small reduction, you can easily reduce your cost by 1.5 rupees per kg. And of course, we spoke on consumables and power cost and the manpower. And here I have written emphasis on the better ROCE, that is a return on capital employed. So if you have more cash in your hand, you'll be able to buy the raw material at a better price and you will be able to have a better business deal. Definitely it will give 2 rupees per kg in your whole procurement cost. So if we add up all these parameters, it looks quite simple, It's a 12.5 rupees kind of value addition you can enhance. So here, even if we are 50% successful in the whatever the parameters I have listed out, still we can dream to be 5 to 6 rupees per kg or 5 to 6% of the cost improvement in your overall organization. What does it mean, this 5%? Is it a small number? Absolutely no. Just let us go back to this pie chart. See, we work, say 300, 500 people with 500 machines, with 300 products. Full 360 days, we work, we are able to save just 5%. So we are able to save just 5%. Keep with simple awareness, without much the spend. So if you are able to contribute additional 5%, it's nothing but the 2 years profitability can be achieved in just 1 year. Means you are able to achieve your goals, what you are going to get in 2 years can be achieved in 1 year. Indirectly, if you calculate, it is like running 2 factories. I always try to compare with my team is the number of factories. So this one particular factory is delivering a profit before tax of 5%. Okay, without changing any of these parameters, just having a better control on these kind of parameters, if you are able to make 5 to 10%, it's nothing but you have created 2 factories from the same facilities. Means you are able to generate the money, double the amount which you are generating yesterday without investing anything. These parameters which I listed out hardly requires any investment. They are all very easily doable, subject to you pay attention on it. Okay, so this is what just I wanted to share. And if people have any questions, I'm ready to take those questions.
Mr. Rajesh Naik is asking, does casting yield improvement save something?
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
The casting yield improvement will definitely save the total the cost of power consumed, and also there will be some melting losses to recycle the material. So definitely yield improvement will have savings. There is no doubt about it. The purpose of why I have covered the only limited points is there are many things, thousands of things in a foundry, right? But we need to focus upon the vital few, we call it, where the influencing things actually, So I have picked up the points where the top 10, according to me, the top 8, where you have big potential to do the savings. That is how I listed. But I don't mean that these are the only lists that will lead to the cost saving. There are many more.
Mr. Raghavendra is asking when the scrap prices are expected to reduce.
Of course, I'm not talking as a panelist. I'm just talking as a foundry man. We are hoping that from March, April onwards, or particularly April onwards, it should go south. We are already seeing some kind of the indications, but I'm not sure whether it really go back to 30, 32 rupees kind of level. Right now, the prices are shot up by 35, 40%, and it may go back maybe 15, 20%, halfway through it may retrace actually. That's what we're expecting.
So I think if nobody is having any questions, we can stop the sessions here. Thank you, sir. Thank you for appraising us on the subject and financials for foundry engineers. The practicing foundryman can contribute to the cost definitely by careful and innovative use of raw material, consumables, power and manpower as explained by you. Apart from working For productivity and quality, the shop floor engineers can work for plant utilization and optimum product mix also. The financial statements explained in a simple way will definitely help in understanding the concept. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for all the attendees also for participating in this lecture. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.
Okay. Signing off. Thank you. Bye.